everyone's kind of jumping at what you learned about what the Bears were doing with Caleb last year. Did he and did he really say that they didn't give him any sense on how to watch film and he watched it by himself? Seth?
Yeah, it was one of those things that when I discussed it with Caleb, we brought up Alex Smith because Alex Smith, has talked a lot about that in San Francisco, how he would just watch film by himself and no one had taught him how to watch film, how you start with certain positions and move backwards from there. And there were similarities with Caleb. And at times he would just watch film by himself with little direction. And, I want to make one thing clear is that ultimately all of this stuff was Caleb's decision. And he did visit the Bears after his pro day. And he came back and he told, everybody around him that I can do it in Chicago. I'm going to be a Bear. And I think that, his heart is in it trying to figure out a way to turn the Bears into a winner. Just some of my reporting touches on some of the concerns that happened ahead of time. But, look, as the season went on, it was a huge validation for the way that Carl Williams saw this process unfolding. Not that I think he's happy about that, but, those were his fears. And he wanted his son to end up at a team that had, the type of quarterback guru that, can be a partnership that lasts the duration of a career. And, already Caleb is going to be on, his third, offensive play caller and second head coach entering his second year.
But I think, the general sense is that he does appear to be in a position of having that attached at the hip career play caller and career maker in Ben Johnson. At least that is the sense that everyone has, certainly in hope in Chicago, that he is going to be that guy. That said, I still can't believe that a kid was let to watch film by himself or not really given too many, parameters on how to be a film watcher or what to look for. That he said he would turn the film on by himself to figure out what to watch, Seth?
Yeah, and again, this has happened before. Quarterbacks do talk about it. It's one of those things about the NFL that we can't really believe that takes place, but it does. And it's one of the reasons why people like Carl Williams were so concerned about where his son ended up and wanted to do everything that they could to try to give him an opportunity to have some agency over where he ended up. Obviously, that didn't end up happening, but that's why. And, people can argue with the tactics or whatever it might be, but it's hard to argue with the logic behind it, especially when you see a season play out like it did last year. He was sacked 68 times. It's ridiculous.
It is that. Okay, so what do you think the fallout of this part of your book is going to be? The knowing the NFL as well as you do, Players Association, hearing the way that their collective bargaining work has been evaluated by a star player's father, who is clearly a Sherpa for him, who, by the way, couldn't have been more, spot on about his concerns based on everything. What do you think? Or is that one thing? Not much?
I have no idea. This happens a lot. Like I said, I write a lot about, quarterback dads in the book, and, they've become kind of a punchline similar to these Marv Marinovich types, but there's a reason behind it. And that's because this is the most valuable position in sports. It's the most mysterious position in sports. And there are no sure things. And it relies on luck a lot more than anybody wants to admit. And I think that, that's part of what we saw play out. Think about, Caleb goes to Chicago, Jaden Daniels goes to Washington. He goes to a terrific offensive play caller in Cliff Kingsbury,
who the Bears had in their facility to potentially hire.
Absolutely. And they have Dan Quinn, who's a veteran head coach, and he knows how to run an operation. And look at how well Jaden did. Look at Bo Nix. I get in the book into some of the scouting behind Bo Nix, some really fascinating things as to how the Broncos landed on him. Look at how well he did with someone who knows how to talk quarterback and speak quarterback and call an offense. And it's not really unreasonable, but that's what they wanted.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.